This is just a quick review of the clip and intersect functions in ArcGIS Pro. We'll have to do some clipping based on our watersheds for some of the other data layers. So here I have watershed boundaries I've developed and the soils data for max absolute absorption here behind it. And I don't want to work with all this outside area in any of my analysis. So once I calculate my watersheds, it'd be convenient if I could pull out just the areas associated with my watersheds. And there's two ways to do this. Simply in a straightforward manner, there's the clip function. So here I can find it by typing clip, and it will come up and it tells you to extract the input features based on the outline of another feature. And in this extraction tool, if I double left click here, the input features I have to specify, now that's the feature I want to clip out of the soils data. And here I have the clip feature, in this case my study sheds. And this is just going to save the information for the target or input features. I can set a tolerance here. It'll establish a default. I think it's 0. I'm going to say it's 1/10 of a meter. That will basically be a fuzzy tolerance. Any feature vertices or nodes that are within this distance will be pulled together, and I'm not sure how it decides which to pull, which direction, so I'm making it pretty small. When I run this, then it runs fairly quickly, even though this is a fairly slow processor. And I see I have my output here, the soils 20 clip 1. It's saved to my default directory, wherever that is. If I open the attribute table for this new feature, I see that, or set of features, I see that I have all the soils attributes here. I don't have the two different watershed. So if I look at the study areas and pull it on top, I had two different watersheds. It doesn't distinguish between these two. It doesn't put this boundary in. It just uses the exterior boundary. And so I have soils data just restricted to my study area I can use in further analysis. Now, sometimes I may want to do the equivalent, except that I want to maintain the information on study sheds. That's to say, I want to use these soils data, but have knowledge of which watershed I'm in the output data set. And I can use a different tool here. It's the Intersect tool that does that. It does the same thing as the clip, except it maintains the geographic information, the boundaries from both data layers. So if I put my study sheds in there as one data layer and my soils, original soils data as the other data layer, and I can give it a rank, which it's going to match to which, I don't care here. The output will be the same as the input, and it's going to do an output feature class name of study sheds intersect. I could rename that as I wished. And if I run this, then again, for this fairly small problem, it gives me the output. I'll close everything from behind so we see these study sheds. This intersect then gives me the output, and if I open the attribute table, it will give me for each of these the grid code, which was the identifier for watershed, as well as the soil type and the drainage class or amount of drainage it would do. So here I have basically this absolute centimeter for each of these polygons absorption level. So the attributes from both data layers. And if I go to my Explore button here and click in the different features, I can see then for all of those. This is from the watershed up on the top, and it has a grid code of 1, so all these should have a grid code of 1. You see here the grid code, and then these down here from the watershed at the bottom, and that has a grid code of 3, and again a grid code of 3 down here. So I can do either a clip or an intersect. The one I'll do depends on whether I want to maintain boundaries and information from both input layers or just from one input layer. And you'll be using that in pre-processing the full watershed, the full campus data I give you before you do your analysis, your main analysis.